What's up guys, James here from Boot Wizard Boot Reviews, and today it is the full review of the Concave Halo Plus. The big questions we're going to answer today are these worth your money when you can pick them up at only £60 on sale? Are these an improvement over the previous Concave models? Have they made a boot that is genuinely worth considering? And actually, by getting rid of their Power Strike technology, have they actually made a fantastic power boot? Remember to like the video, remember to get subscribed, and let's jump in to this review. So first off, we're going to jump into the upper, but before we do that, I want to make a very important point. And this is a point that was made by a friend of mine who runs the Gaijin Boot blog, and it's simply that I paid for these. The reason why I want to make that point and the reason why I think it's so important is because Concave have developed a reputation over time for basically throwing out boots to any reviewer who asks for them in order to get favourable reviews and try and push their product. And over time, by law of diminishing returns, this means nobody trusts a review of a Concave boot. I think it's very important to note here that personally I have not had any contact with Concave regarding getting free boots or any kind of promotion regarding this review. This is entirely off my own back and 100% impartial, and therefore it's very important to know I paid for these. With that out of the way, the upper is Concave's maize material, which is a synthetic mesh hybrid. Now, it's not the softest boot you're ever going to pick up, but I've certainly picked up stiffer boots out of the box this year, and this does soften up quite nicely after a couple of wears. For the touch on the ball, I wouldn't necessarily describe this as barefoot, but it's certainly leaning that way. It's like a barefoot sensation with a little bit more of substantial padding behind it that really gives you an oomph and a ping when you do strike the ball. And for a boot that is priding itself on having shooting technology and power technology, that really is a good thing. They've taken what they said they want to do and actually applied it, which, while that sounds very simple, isn't something you always get. The upper itself is very slick, especially around these areas here, so if it was left like that, that would certainly be a problem for your touch and control on the ball. However, they have added some vamps, these areas here, which are certainly more textured than the rest of the boot. The texture seems to increase as you reach the forefoot, so this area is the most textured and gives you quite a nice touch on the ball. They're not revolutionary, they're not going to do anything exceptional. However, having them on top of that super slick synthetic is really useful. So you're going to take a boot that has a quite substantial feel, that gives you a nice ping off the boot, and add a little bit of extra grip to them. And all of these things are adding up to doing what I kind of alluded to earlier, providing a really good power boot. So the Halo Plus doesn't have a true one-piece upper. It has this maize outer, which is the orange area, and then filling in this central lacing system is a neoprene sock. So this isn't a standard tongue, as it is bonded at either side underneath the boot to the maize material, but the laces connect directly to that synthetic mesh outer. So it makes up somewhat of a faux one-piece upper, which is no problems at all and quite alright by me, because you get some of the additional comfort and benefits of a traditional style boot while also getting a nice wrap and a good lockdown that you would associate with a one-piece upper. So overall, big thumbs up here as well. Now, I said it earlier, Concave have done away with their power strike element, which has been a real staple of Concave boots. It's on everything, and it's been what they've used as their selling point for a long time. This gimmick, because it was a gimmick, of power strike technology. I never liked it, I thought it got in the way, and honestly, Concave needed to get rid of it, which they have done. Concave have replaced that stupid little piece of plastic that sat on top of your boots with the AccuStrike technology, which is these two rails that run down either side of the boot, and they're very hard, so you cannot compress these in at all, basically. The idea behind the AccuStrike railing system, quite simply, is that if you were to hit a ball within these rails, it gives you a true and consistent connection and means the ball goes where you want it to. Does it work? Kind of, in the way that it doesn't get in my way like the PowerStrike technology used to. I don't feel any huge benefit from this, but honestly, just getting rid of the PowerStrike and putting in this AccuStrike is well worth the change anyway. It's not going to revolutionize your shooting, and much like the Nike Phantom Venom, it's certainly not going to keep the ball going in if your technique is terrible. So looks wise, I'm not a huge fan of the looks here, but this is not a bad looking boot at all. I like the colour, I like the cut, there isn't much to dislike here at all. This AccuStrike railing system isn't intrusive, it's not in the way, the vamps actually look quite cool, as well as giving you that texture. The sole plate is chrome, although if you have checked out my unboxing, it's not the most premium chrome finish, it comes off very, very easily. But on the whole, I can't complain about the looks, and I'm very happy to be rocking these. Chrome, red, black, what's not to like? So the traction on this is a multi-density outsole, which basically means it has stiffer parts and less stiff parts. And what that has led to is a boot that is reasonably stiff, maybe a little too stiff all the way through. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more flex up in this top area, up in the toe area where the boot is meant to bend. It's not something that's really affected me on the pitch, but I would have liked to have seen it be there to get a little bit of a better spring back. The stud pattern itself is a mix of these very strange triangular studs and also conical studs, but they do a good job. It's actually fairly aggressive. You get good traction in the ground, and while it's not mind-blowing in terms of its aggressiveness, the multi-directional movement and the general traction is absolutely nothing to complain about. The stability through the midfoot and heel is also fantastic, and basically the shape and length of the studs mean that this does lend itself very nicely to both FG and AG pitches. So if you're looking for something to cover both, this could be well worth checking out. And a slightly different observation on the sole plate, one also again made by the Gaijin Boot blog, is that this sole plate is quite clearly the heaviest part of the boot, and while normally I wouldn't view this as a positive thing, in this instance the way that seems to balance the boot out when you're striking makes this feel like it really is there to provide you with extra punch, extra strike, and really get more ping off that ball when you're hitting through it. So we've got another point chalked up to this really being a high quality power boot, a type of boot we don't really see so much anymore. So let's take a look at the weight on this, and normally I would be looking at lightest boot possible, but honestly the more I use this and the more I wear this, the more I take it as a power boot and the more I actually want that little bit of extra weight. So these come in at 236 grams, which is in my size in Concave, which is a UK 7.5. Now that is by no means heavy, we're still around Adidas Predator type weight here. But as I say, that extra weight, especially coming from areas like the sole plate, really does seem to benefit the boot in achieving that power boot type vibe. So 236 grams, not heavy, not going to annoy you, not going to get in your way, and yet still heavy enough to provide you with a little bit of extra oomph. So let's cover something else I said in the intro, that these are only £60 and surely that makes them great value for money. And the answer is, Quite simply, it does. They're £60 on sale. If you head to ProDirect Soccer, you can pick up this exact model on sale right now with the chrome sole plate. If you head over to the Concave website, they frequently do have sales, and during Black Friday, you could pick these up also for £60. So just because these are cheap doesn't make them good value for money. We also have to compare them to what is around them on the market. Do you get more or less for what you spend? And quite simply, if we take them at the sale price at £60, you're comparing them to something like a Nike Academy level boot. And realistically, there is no comparison. These are far better than a Nike Academy level boot or an Adidas 0.3 boot. These blow them both out of the water. So if you're looking for the best quality at that £60 price mark, this really should be something you're considering as opposed to an Academy level boot. If we take them at £120, that full price, we're then putting them into a conversation with Nike Pro level boots and something like maybe the Lotto Solista. They're all around that £120 to £140 mark, maybe even the Umbro UX Acuro, which is a little more expensive. And honestly, I think this can be in that conversation quite comfortably. All of those boots, if you take the Vapor 13 Pro, the Solista 200, the UX Acuro 3, and the Concave Halo Plus, they're all in a conversation together where your personal preference is going to be what's the defining factor, because they're all very good boots. So this genuinely is worth your money at the price point, and because the price point is so low, I'm calling it good value for money. So on feet, these are actually much more comfortable than I was expecting them to be. That neoprene sock does a really good job of locking your feet in place and also being stretchy and comfortable. This really is a boot that should accommodate almost everybody. I even included this recently on a list I did of the top 3 boots for people with wide feet, simply because this has a good amount of volume through the top of the foot and also in the width in the midfoot. Not so much the toe box, but it works out nicely. Size-wise, I went down half a size in these Concaves. Now, this is something I strongly recommend doing. It's an issue Concave have had for quite some time with their sizing. It doesn't seem to have been rectified. I would definitely go down half a size. The stud pattern is nicely distributed throughout the foot, so I don't actually feel any stud pressure on almost any surface, again, lending itself to that FG-AG style. The heel lockdown is good. There's not a huge amount of padding, but that doesn't bother me at all, really. And then personally, one of my only complaints would be that because of that extra volume you get through the midfoot area, kind of between the midfoot and forefoot, I sometimes find the boots crease up on me a little bit because there's just a bit too much volume for my feet. It's not necessarily an issue, it doesn't bother me, but it definitely isn't perfect. So on the whole, I think this is a boot that is well worth your consideration, especially considering the price point, and also if you're looking for a power boot in today's market, this is going to be one of the closest things you can find to that sensation of having a solid strike on the ball with the weight transferring through the ball and the whole thing designed around a good strike in a package that is comfortable and not overly heavy. Realistically, this is actually hard to beat at the price point for the technology you get. This is a big thumbs up from me for Concave, and hopefully a sign of things to come with their future releases. Let me know down in the comments, with this information, would you go out and rock Concave boots? Yes or no? Remember to like this video, it helps the channel a huge amount. If you're not already subscribed, get subscribed, click over here. And that's all from Boot Wizard here today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.